Zainab Ibrahim is a female Muslim wrestler from Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon. She's loved wrestling since she was a child, ever since she saw John Cena and wanted to be the next John Cena. As part of her Muslim faith, modesty is something she regularly works with. So she wears Under Armour compression sleeves and pants, and usually practices and wrestles in a two-piece with a shirt and shorts combo. That has worked well with her career at Umpqua Community College and with the National Junior College Collegiate Association, which is the NJCCA. However, currently Zainab is so good, she is trying to wrestle with USA Wrestling, which can in turn go on to the Olympics, and United World Wrestling, which are the gatekeepers to the Olympics. USA Wrestling does not have a rule that she cannot wear her Under Armour compression sleeves and leggings, but USA Wrestling does lead into and open up the chance to work with United World Wrestling, and they do specifically have a no modification rule. Because of last year, when USA Wrestling qualifier Latifah McBride won and placed, but was prohibited from actually competing in United World Wrestling, UWW's competition, because she refused to change her two-piece. She would not, for the sake of her Muslim faith, compete in anything but what she had been wearing. Because of the no modification rule that has been trickling down from United World Wrestling, talented Muslim wrestling women like Zainab and Latifah McBride are being prohibited from going on any further.
Right now, at the beginning of the season, I don't really have challenges with UCC's wrestling. Our team here is amazing. My coaches and my teammates are very supportive. Before coming to college, I used to wrestle with a singlet and with compression shirts and leggings. But I saw another Muslim girl who wrestles in fight shorts and a shirt, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I decided to kind of switch to that as well. And when I told my coaches, they were fine with it. They ordered me that same day. But the problem I'm having with women's wrestling right now is I wanted to compete for World Team Trials in Spokane, Washington a couple weeks ago. And they basically told me that if I wanted to compete, I would have to take off my leggings and my shirt, but I could keep my hijab on. And the problem with that is I wear my hijab for modesty reasons because I am a Muslim woman. And being Muslim, we care more about, we really care about modesty. And when I was, if I was to take off my leggings and my shirt, my thighs and my arms would be exposed. And I remember calling them and asking them if I could get a private weigh-ins because I was like, hey, your rule says that I have to wear a singlet. I'm fine with that. I wore a singlet before. I don't mind it. I would prefer shorts, but I don't mind wearing a singlet. Can I just get a private weigh-in? Because I am cutting down weight. Because at the time, I think I was 136 and I was wrestling 130. And I was trying to see if that was okay. And they kind of just said, we'll get back to you on that. And then a day before we were leaving to the tournament, my coach pulled me aside and he said that the only way that I would be able to step foot on the mat is if I was to take off my shirt and my leggings. And I was like, well, for obvious reasons, I can't do that. So I didn't get to compete. My first initial reaction was wait, what? And then I'm like, you're joking, right? And then he's like, no, I was just on the phone with Natasha and she just kind of told me. And then my coach was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, what do you mean? What do I want to do? I obviously can't take my clothes off. So I was like, I obviously can't go. And then he's like, yeah. And then I remember walking out of the gym and going to the girls' locker room. And I called my club coach first to see, because he's also one of the main reasons I'm wrestling in college. He's the one that kind of pushed me to it. And I remember calling him and telling him what happened, and I was crying. And then he said he was gonna call me back. He's like, I'm gonna call somebody. And then I called my mom, and when I called my mom, I was like, hey mom, do you know the tournament I was telling you about this weekend that I was really excited for? And she's like, yeah. And then I was like, well, they're not letting me go because of like my leggings and like my shirt. Because initially I talked to my mom first before wearing the singlet, because I used to wear the singlet and my parents were okay with it because that was the only like form of modesty we understood with the singlet, and how like we can like arrange around that. So when I started wearing shorts and a t-shirt, I feel like my mom was more at ease with me wearing that, and I was more at ease as well. So when I told her I was wearing a singlet again, I kind of asked her for her permission, and she said that she was fine with me. So I was saying like, hey, like now they're saying like I can't wear my leggings and my shirt, like, but I can keep my hijab on. And she said, well, that's nonsense. And I was like, yeah, it is. But yeah, and then she just kind of told me like, she was like, oh, I'm sorry, like I know you've been working really hard for this and I'm still proud of you. And then I was like, yeah. And then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And then she just kind of told me, she was like, don't go, like don't go, because it's like if you go and I was to take off my leggings and my shirt, she said like, because when I first wanted to initially start wrestling, the main concern my mom had was there was nobody that looked like me who did it. And she said like, who, like, she's like, nobody who looks like us does this, like it's not common, don't do this. And if you are gonna do this and you're gonna be like, you're gonna obviously be like the representative in the face for other little girls who can look up to you, but you do understand that you're gonna be the trial and the error, like you're gonna have to face like the doors getting slammed on your face, and I don't want that for you. And I was like, nah, mom, we're just talking, like what are you talking about? So like she was just kind of like, don't do it, it's not worth it. Like she's like, just put everything in the hands of God. God is the one that allows you to do what you do. God lets you live, and he's the one that like can take that away and stuff like that. So she was like, don't put your religion on the line for it, because if you take off your leggings and your shirt, like what's next? Like you're getting, as soon as you cross that line, they can ask you to take off your hijab next, and next thing you know, because you already like crossed that line, and since you're already there, you might as well keep crossing it. So she just kind of was like, don't do it, and it's not worth it. Yeah, as I said, I compete in a shirt and shorts with leggings underneath it. And another reason why I really like competing with a shirt and leggings, like I still overheat, but with the singlet, it is very tight to the body. So when I'm wearing my singlet, like my hijab is tucked in, I have a compression shirt on, I have the leggings on, and that are all really tight to my body. And then on top of that, I have my singlet. So there is like no way heat can come out. Like I literally have to like go like this to like let heat come in. So I haven't wore my singlet all year round. So I was like dang, I gotta wear a singlet again. So, and it was also during Ramadan. So like I was fasting, I was dehydrated, and I couldn't eat food. So like that wasn't a really problem, because I went to practice and I was fasting, which kind of sucked the beginning of the week, but then I kind of got used to it and like learned how to control my breathing. So I was like, now my next obstacle is overheating and not drinking water. So I started wearing my singlet to practice every single day. Like I'd wear my compression clothes. I have multiple compression leggings and shirts, so I'd constantly wear that with my singlet, and I'd wear like the hijabs that I compete with, because I have like Nike hijabs that are shorter that like roll up on the neck, but like the ones that I compete in are very long. So like what I would wear like as if I was in competition is what I compete, like I would wear to practice. So like that way like I could figure out my overheating problem and like what works best for me. I think why I care about this particular ruling is because I've been wrestling for almost 60 years now. I went to college for it because I have like my goals and dreams is to become an Olympic champion for my country, which is the USA. When they told me I couldn't compete in like my leggings and my shirt, and they were just kind of telling me like I would have to take it off to do something I love, it was like my religion makes me who I am. My beliefs, the way I view the world, everything around that is my religion. My religion kind of pushed me to wrestling as well, because it's like the way I view life, how I interpret people, how I interact with people is through my religion. My religion is me. So when you ask me to take my leggings and my shirt off, you're asking me to strip my identity. You're asking me to step on a mat without knowing who I am.
What would happen if you were to make it and hit the qualifiers and then you couldn't go on to United? What is...
This actually happened last year. I think Latifa McBride, she won and she qualified, and she had to forfeit her spot. So that probably would happen to me too. If I was to qualify, I probably would have had to forfeit my spot as well.
And as you understand it, is that why USA Wrestling said no without the compression sleeves?
Yeah, probably. They wouldn't want like another like forfeited spot. I think it's important that I share my story because there's many Muslim women. Like, as I said, it's a very small community, and I was blessed to know a lot of other girls who are Muslim who wrestle that are my friends. And it was just kind of like, they all asked me if I was going, and I told them yeah. And they were like, well, we don't really know. And then when the rule came out, and they're like, see, like I told you, like there's probably going to be something about it. It's like, we shouldn't have to feel like that. And it just pushes us away. Like Muslim women, like it's not even just wrestling. Muslim women, like you don't really see them in sports because we're scared. Like we're like, oh, what if we can't wear her hijab? What if like nobody wants to be discriminated? It's not a nice feeling. So when you say like you can't wear that, you put this narrative in our mind, and it's like, why would I try out for sports if they're just gonna tell me no? Even though like they never actually tried out to see if they will say no. They don't. The fear of saying no is what kind of like makes people hesitant. And I remember like seeing like wrestling, and automatically my mind went to WWE because my family grew up on WWE. So I like went home and I like took I don't think I was supposed to take the paper, but like I ripped it off the wall and I took it home. And I remember like my mom was in the kitchen and I bought it, and I was like, Mom, like, do you see what this says? Like it says wrestling. Like I have a vision. Like I'm gonna be John Cena. Like you need to sign me up right now, woman. Like what are you doing? And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, Mom, like you can't see me. Like I'm John Cena. Like you need to sign me up. And she's like, you're crazy. Go talk to your dad. And like I remember talking to my dad. I was like, Dad, please, please, please. Like, can I do it? Because you have to you have to pay to do sports. And in Idaho, you don't have to pay to do sports. So it was kind of weird when we moved to Oregon, like to pay to play. And I remember like telling my dad, he's like, no, I'm not paying because they're just going to quit. I was like, Dad, like I'm not going to quit. Like I promise, like I'm not going to quit. And he told me, he was like, no. And then I go, it's going to pay for my college. And he goes, okay. And then he went, and I'm pretty sure he didn't believe me, but like, hey, I'm in college now. So Dad. But yeah. And then like he signed me up. And then I remember like walking in the first day of practice and just seeing mats on the floor, and I was like, so where's the arena? Like where are the chairs? You know, like where can I like ugh. But yeah, and then the guys on my team told me like WWE was fake, which broke my heart because I actually fully believed it was like real. And then I went home and like I had to like explain to my family, like I was like, guys, I have really bad news, like WWE's fake. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, Mom, like I thought it was real too, man. Like I'm heartbroken too. But yeah. So United World Wrestling was they said they were going to investigate it and to see if there was like any advantages of like, because we don't wear a singlet, so they're trying to see if there's any advantages like if we like with the modification of our clothing. And I remember reading a statement that they said that they were last year, and this is when Latifa went, and since this year I haven't found any like any follow-ups on it. So yeah, and then when my coach asked again, it was just like they're still trying to see if there's like any advantages. But like my saying to that is, if there was any advantages, we practice in normal practice clothes when you're practicing in the wrestling room. And this goes out to all wrestlers worldwide. We practice in sweatpants, some practice in shorts, some practice in leggings, t-shirt, tank tops. If there was any advantages to clothes, it would have been known. We're not practicing in something very like tight to our body, but it's the same material that everybody else practices with. Personally, with wrestling, one of the hardest things for me is like if we do go like I remember in folk style, like there's overtime, and with overtime it's like another period, and like they're sweaty. So when I try to grab their arms, like with their sweat, my arm slips off. But with me, I'm wearing a shirt underneath it. So like with my arms, it's very easy for people to grab because I'm obviously not sweating. So they have a better grip of grabbing my legs and my arms. And I don't really have that like same advantage. But I don't really mind it because if it means I can wear what I feel comfortable in, I don't care what advantage they have. What I honestly really want is to compete in what I feel comfortable in. I love wrestling and I love my religion. I don't ever want to be put in a position where I have to choose one.